Hello, you are watching the news from Kazakhstan. I'm Nurbek Savitakhunov. The surviving Arkan-Kirgen outpost border guard Vladislav Chilakh confessed to the murder of his fellow serviceman, reported news agencies on Wednesday, June 6, citing informed sources. Officially, however, the information is yet to be confirmed. It is only known that security forces are currently questioning Chilakh about the incident. In turn, President Nazarbayev has made a new statement regarding the emergency at the Chinese border, reassuring the neighboring country was not involved in the incident.
On Wednesday, the president of Kazakhstan hurried to reassure the public that recent incident at the border was not committed by external forces. The nation's leader is confident the tragedy that claimed the lives of 14 people is entirely an internal matter. Nazarbayev made the statement during his visit to China, which some observers viewed as a political aggressor. We have important information, but it is, in my opinion, too early to disclose it just yet. At the moment, all I can say is that this wasn't an outside interference. It is a fact. The intruders didn't come from the abroad. The remaining border guard was caught and is giving testimony, so let's wait. In the meantime, the authorities took a defensive position and still do not release any information about the investigation. At the opening ceremony of the Forensic Science Training Center, the First Deputy Professor General Johann Merkel has promised to release information as soon as all circumstances of the incident are clarified. The head of the NSC, Nurtai Bakayev, barely commented on the May incident. The official, who's rarely seen on public, attended a sports contest for law enforcement agents, gave only a few laconic remarks on the matter. The investigation is still underway. On Wednesday, we found horses and we will find everyone. The mass media is trying to reconstruct the scenario of the tragedy with headlines boasting controversies backed by undisclosed sources within law enforcement agencies and governments. They, unlike the nation's leader, say that the theory of an external attack is still on the table. For instance, news agency Kazakh posted interesting details provided by a security official informant. 12 out of 14 border guards were shot in the head point blank. The bodies were found lying in their beds. Alcohol was found in blood of all victims except for the huntsman. It is possible that some kind of drug or clonidine was mixed with the alcohol. The detained 19-year-old sole survivor claims he survived the attack because he didn't drink. The serviceman is in stupor but is still able to give testimony. At the same time, the guard does not remember how the gun of the commander ended up in his possession. On Wednesday, the director of Kazakhstan Institute for Strategic Research also expressed his opinion on the matter. Bulat Sultanov says the tragedy in Arkan-Kirgen is similar to other terrorist attacks reported in Kazakhstan in the last few years. He believes they are all done to discredit law enforcement agencies, as the assault was committed by a group of highly professional criminals. However, by the end of the day, news agency Interfax Kazakhstan reported, with a reference to the Almaty regional administration, that Vladislav Chilakh, the survived border guard, confessed to the murders. Forensics promised to provide their full report by June 8th. The results of the examination will confirm whether the soldier told the truth.
Horses used by border guards that went missing on the tragic day were found near the frontier post. In the meantime, local residents say roadblocks have not been removed yet, speculating that the military is still searching for someone else in the mountains.
Residents of the Alakol area on the coast of the lake Alakol discussed the events at the Gorny frontier outpost for already a week. Locals learned about the death of 14 border guards even before the news broke in the media. People say someone is still in the mountains, and that is why temporary roadblocks haven't been removed, and mobile teams of police officers and border guards are searching the mountains terrain on horseback. Official sources insist that there is no threat in the mountains and the stepped-up security is only due to the still ongoing investigation. A family member of one of the dead soldiers believes the incident could not have been caused by the surviving guard. The young man couldn't physically kill 13 fellow soldiers and a huntsman. I do not believe that one could kill them all. Besides, none of them used weapons. I doubt it. The main source of income for local residents is tourism. Now, entrepreneurs are concerned that a flow of tourists will be reduced due to the incident. In the past, visitors only complained about the water quality in the lake, and now locals have to explain that the recreation areas are also safe. What had happened is terrifying no matter what the reasons were there. It is terrible when people die and there is absolutely no accurate and reliable information. In fact, the information on the internet and the press and from word of mouth is quite contradictory. Nevertheless, we hope that this incident will be somehow investigated and the guilty will be found. The people of the nearby villages say the lack of reliable information regarding the incident scares them the most. According to villagers, the May tragedy could have been caused by anything from hazing to an attack of organized smugglers. Local residents also say off the record that the drug trafficking from China to Kazakhstan takes place in the area of the Arkan-Kirgen border post.
Meanwhile, the surviving border guard's grandfather, Vladimir Chilakh, says that the inquiry into the case of his grandson is still underway. The deputy prosecutor himself conducted the questioning of Vladislav Chilakh's family, neighbors and friends. The soldiers' closed ones were told the procedure is necessary to draw the suspect's psychological profile. However, once again, law enforcement agencies did not corroborate the information about Chilakh's involvement in the multiple murders. An internet blog said Vladislav confessed, but there was no source given. So I showed this post to the deputy of the prosecutor, who told me not to trust anything until they send me an official letter. When the investigation ends, they will explain and show everything to me. The media continues to speculate about various theories of the incident. On Wednesday, Kazakhstan edition of Kursiv newspaper published an article citing a source which says the guards were actually protecting private property instead of the border. According to the source, border guards were not on duty protecting state borders, but were in fact guarding the lands belonging to a senior official, a general of the NSC. The source said that some influential people attempted to seize these lands and decided to frame the general through this. The source also added that organized gangs are very active in the area, and this is quite possibly their work. Members of Kazakhstan's parliament became more active towards the end of the parliamentary season. On Wednesday, they announced their plan to express a vote of no confidence towards the country's cabinet. This initiative was spearheaded by the faction leaders who met with President Nazarbayev earlier in the week and were given direct instructions to be more proactive. At the meeting, the head of state reminded the MPs about their power to dismiss heads of departments and even dissolve the entire cabinet for its shortcomings.
Unspent state funds should lead to the dissolution of the cabinet, said on Wednesday several MPs who are still extremely disappointed with the report of the finance minister about last year's budget spending. While there is a lack of funds for important social projects, ministries and agencies managed to keep stashes. The work of the government is not commendable. I believe it was poor, and during the next report presentation, which will likely take place at the joint session, we would have to think about passing the vote of no confidence. Unspent funds represent only a part of violations revealed by the audit committee. The state agencies are squandering public money and sometimes openly plunder them. The Minister of Finance tried to defend himself by saying the perpetrators are being ruthlessly punished. People who allegedly held liable experience only a slight shock and then change their offices. I believe primarily ministers and governors should be held accountable for implementation of the budget plan. Darigha Nazarbayeva also urged the Speaker of the Chamber to consider the status of the Parliament and expansion of its powers. At the same time, earlier this week, the President himself told the leaders of parliamentary factions that the MPs are poorly using the powers they already have. Indeed, lawmakers can dismiss particular ministries and dissolve the entire cabinet if necessary. The factions' leaders apparently took note and used the recommendation to inform the finance minister about potential consequences they might face. The government is very lucky to have a talented virtuoso like Polat Zhamishov as a finance minister, as he can spin any negative situation no matter how bad it is. I don't think any circus in the world has such talented performers. No private company would hire him as a manager even for a day. Moreover, if he was caught stealing, the company would hold him liable. After a heated argument, the MPs did accept the government report on budget spending, but said they will return to the report at the joint session of Parliament chambers, during which they will decide whether to dissolve the cabinet or leave their threats as empty words.
The head of the National Bank announced that the situation on the Russian foreign exchange market will in no way affect Kazakhstan. Speaking at a conference in Almaty, the main financier of the country maintained that the dollar remains strong in Kazakhstan compared to other CIS countries. According to the chief financial officer, there are no internal reasons for the dollar's growth. The chairman of the National Bank also told reporters that the countries of the customs union did not sign an agreement on the monetary policy. Marchenko said that the National Bank bought more than $2 billion worth of currency on the domestic market since the beginning of the year to prevent the strengthening of the tenge. As for the euro, the National Bank reduced the share of the currency in its reserves from 30% to 25% due to the crisis in the eurozone.
У нас, к сожалению, очень многие журналисты и так называемые аналитики, эксперты и часть населения
There are many journalists, as well as so-called analysts, experts, and even regular citizens who say the dollar exchange rate fluctuations in Russia will definitely reflect on the situation in Kazakhstan. At the same time, the drop of ruble in August-September of last year, or this May and early June, did not affect the exchange rate in Kazakhstan or Ukraine significantly. The trial of the former Zhanaozen mayor Orak Sarbapeyev will be rebooted after the appointment of the new jury. The judge made this decision after prosecution provided video of jurors communicating with Sarbapeyev's family members. At the Wednesday hearing, the court studied video recordings presented by the prosecution, which shows some members of the jury talking to the defendant's family members. State prosecutors requested to study the video behind closed doors. Thus, reporters and everyone not directly involved in the case were asked to leave the courtroom. The judge announced a recess after watching the video and passed his decision after lunch. It was revealed the video that shows members of the jury Bigzhanova, Hamzaev, and Jaralgasova talking to the defendant's sister, which prompts the reappointment of the jury and a trial to restart on June 19th. As it became known, some of the jurors have been communicating with friends and relatives of Sarbapeyev, and this fact makes everyone doubt they will remain unbiased in the future. For this reason, the trial was postponed until June 19th. To be honest, I think that jurors are neutral and they'll be telling the truth. They are not associated with Sarbapeyev. Families of the oil workers convicted of taking part in mass riots in Zhanaozen are gradually recovering after the grueling trial. Some in the quiet family setting are celebrating the return of the acquitted loved ones. Others are waiting for the possible visit of the nation's leader. The certainty that this will happen soon appeared after hasty repair works were launched in Zhanaozen. Worn out by the months-long strike that escalated into unrests, along with 5-month-long court proceedings, local residents are in dire need of moral as well as material support. Here's a look at the city in the aftermath of the trial. The Abdurrahmanov family has been receiving many guests for the past 2 days. Relatives and friends come to say only one word to Yesengildi's family: Kozaim. This word is not easily translated from Kazakh, and in this context it means, at last the eyes are happy, i.e. welcome back. The eyes are indeed happy. Endless trips from one town to another, and the lack of money in the past 5 months has taken its toll on the family. There are not many talks at the table, as everyone is rejoicing modestly, discussing the main question: why did innocent oil workers were put behind bars, when the president himself spoke in their favor? Yesengildi, who went through all the hardships and humiliations during his arrest, prefers to remain silent, as if apologizing to his loved ones. Minjibai, the family's friend, is also an oil worker at a backfill. The salary for his responsible and rather dangerous work is around $870, and he also went on strike last year. Minjibai has been paying out a credit to the bank for the last 7 months, a credit that has almost doubled. It takes the major part of his income now. When Dinara said on TV that she had been receiving phone calls from investigators and even gave their names, we watched and cried. We had been scared since then. We all have children. They've been summoned to the National Security Committee and asked who arranged this, who started it all. I'll be honest with you, no one started it. They were all together. They spent 7 months behind bars together. This was their joint decision. Half a year has passed since the tragic events and people are still silent. The fear is deep inside them. Only the most active talk. Even those who have been released recently are afraid of communicating with reporters. Adilbek Shamov, an ex-weightlifting champion of Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, agreed to be interviewed only on a 3rd attempt, encouraged by his friend's father, Yesengildi. They both spent 5 months in a temporary detention facility arrested for looting, which was never proven by the investigation. Thank God my son was released and he came back home safe and sound. I am happy to see him back with his family and children. We received many guests recently who came and greeted my son back home. Now my only dream is to always be next to him. After 10 years of training, Adilbek had to retire from sports due to an injury. He used to be part of the national team of Kazakhstan, training side by side with renowned athletes Ilya Ilyin and Vladimir Sedov. When he came back home, he had to take on the job of a security guard, as coaching paid very little at around $170 per month. This is not enough to feed even one person, much less an entire family, says Adilbek, not adding a word about politics as per the main condition for the interview. The wife of Barjan Nepes, who was sentenced to 3 years of participating in riots, is slowly recovering from the shock. This footage shows several men carrying Shamsharak from the courtroom after she fainted. She says she does not remember how it all ended, although she realizes that she's starting a life without a husband. We've been suffering for the last 5 months. No one knows about it. We couldn't even get a piece of bread. But this is not important. We are ready to go through anything just to get my husband back. We're not asking for anything else. If they come back home safe and sound, this is all we need. You heard about torture stories at the trial. They drove needles under their nails to make them confess crimes they haven't committed. They told them, if you don't sign this, we'll keep torturing you. Shamsharak is looking after her children on her own for the past 5 months. Her husband Baurjan, who was awarded a diploma by the Zhanaozian city administration for being a committed father and a guardian for 2 orphaned nephews, was sentenced to 3 years in prison. The wife is crushed by the burden of raising the children while going through courts and earning money at the same time, all on her own. I know the wife of Kanat Josibekov, who was sentenced to 6 years for organizing riots, is facing the same troubles. There are 4 children in her family as well. When I left, I told my kids that I was going to come back with their father. I've been lying to them for 5 months, thinking up different reasons, telling them that he is stuck at work, trying to call their attention to something else. My elder daughter is in the elementary school. She saw the news on TV and cried. It seems she understands everything. She's not a little girl anymore. In the meantime, Zhanaozian authorities are rushing to renovate the city in time for a visit by high-ranking guests. All buildings' facades adjoining to the main avenue and the Intimak Square, where last year's tragic events took place, are painted yellow-blue, with animal shapes placed nearby. All satellite dishes are dismantled from residents' windows without their consent, leaving people with only one channel to watch. Traces of looting and riots are long gone, although occasional military squads can still be encountered in the town. A sudden rush of authorities to renovate the settlement reinforces the local belief that Zhanaozian will soon be honored with a president's visit. First versions of the cause of Tahir Muhamedyanov's death emerged on Wednesday. 1 day prior, the body of the Miners Family Association activist was found in his rented apartment. Forensics have yet to identify the actual cause of death, but they suggest heart failure, while policemen are not in a hurry to instigate a criminal case, still waiting for the results of the medical examination.
The head of the Miners Family Association is going through a great sorrow missing Tahir Muhamedyanov, who has always been sitting next to her. On Tuesday, the social activist was found dead in his rented apartment in Shakhtinsk. He was last seen live last Friday, when at the beginning of the work week, the organization's deputy chair stopped answering phone calls. His colleagues began to worry. According to Natalia Tamilova, Tahir did not answer the door and the police had to be summoned to his apartment. I found no signs of struggle. Everything was clean. I also didn't find signs of alcohol. He was lying facing the balcony door. Maybe it happened at night when he was sleeping. No bruises were found on his skin. Natalia Tamilova was so eager to see the body with her own eyes for a strong reason. Tahir Muhamedyanov was often found under intense pressure. The first thing that comes to mind when Shakhtinsk residents talk about the civil activists is his real help to miners and the assaults he endured from unidentified individuals. His car and garage were detonated intentionally. It was a planned blast, since all nearby garages remained intact, while his garage was completely destroyed. Muhamedyanov had problems with renting an apartment, and as soon as he found one, the landlord would terminate contract, so he was forced to drift from place to place. He helped me with my trials many times and took part in them with me. Muhamedyanov never said no when I needed him. He was a good man. Natalia Tamilova did not hide her indignation when she found out from Tahir's family that exact cause of death was not determined in the Karaganda morgue. The heart failure was the only theory reported at that point. The family received a report which says that the cause of the death cannot be established due to the fast decay of the corpse. This is very strange since the body was found only after 2 days and it wasn't in the state when it is impossible to determine the cause of death. They assume it might be a heart failure. These conclusions may or may not be true, but they certainly raise doubts. The police's comment on the incident was very short. A criminal case hasn't been initiated yet. The body found in the apartment showed no signs of externally inflicted violence. At the moment, we requested forensic examination, and based on its results, we will follow legal procedures. The memorial service will be held in Shakhtinsk on Thursday. People will be able to say their last goodbye to Tahir Muhamedyanov near the office of Miners Family Association.
Kazakhstan football fans will have easier access to the Euro 2012 championship, said the Polish ambassador to Kazakhstan on Wednesday. Event organizers already calculated that the youngest spectator will be just 5 years of age, while the oldest one will be 97. Yet there are still very few people in Kazakhstan who open Polish visas holding attendance tickets, due to the fact that many chose to take tourist visas instead. The game between Poland and Greece will open the competition on Friday, June 8th.
Express visas, an official invitation to diplomats, is a sign that Kazakhstan's fans are welcome at Euro 2012. For instance, the General Consul of the Republic of Poland in Almaty brought good news about the simplified procedures for issuing Schengen visas. Although only 50 people from Kazakhstan got the championship visas, more than 1,000 others chose the good old tourist ones. Pana Suchovsky is a football fan himself. He refrained from predicting who will win the championship this year, but did express hope for Poland to make it to the finals. I think both Russia and Poland teams have a great chance to win. That remains to be seen, though. In our group, we have the strong Czech team. Greece had great success at the European Championship and World Cup. Poland used to play well in the 70s and 80s. Sports journalist Yermek Toriniazov supports Holland. He believes the team is most likely to win the Euro Cup. Yermek has already obtained a Polish visa for the first time in his career. He will cover such a major football tournament from location. He says it is a big challenge, but it's totally worth it. I've never been to World Championship. As a sports journalist, I feel really excited about this now. My superiors say it is a big opportunity for me either to climb up or go down the career ladder. I cannot miss a chance like this. Mirjan Alibek, Yermek's colleague from Astana, has already been to Poland. In May, he was part of an international delegation to tour Euro 2012 facilities, see the stadiums and bulletproof buses for football stars. Specifically for the event, the authorities built hundreds of hotels and repaired roads in the country. Poland has spent 250 billion euros on the championship. Polish authorities are confident that the championship will bring the profit, but after talking to ordinary people, we found out that they are dissatisfied with high expenses. In the meantime, residents of other countries prefer to temporarily forget about economic crisis. The first ticket for Euro 2012 was bought by a fan from South Korea. Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich bought several VIP seats an entire year before the championship. The Poles are even joking that there are no seats left for Putin. In general, the event is expected to attract 150 million spectators, including television audience. Many citizens of Kazakhstan have already switched to the online mode of life as well. At any given moment, they can say which team and when are playing against each other and even know the lineups. The first game between Greece and Poland is on June 8th. As far as I know, it starts at 10 p.m. I think Poland will be in favor with the referee as they are hosting the championship. They will definitely score, but at the end result will likely be a draw. I've supported England for more than 10 years. I hope they will win. We will probably support our friends. They play quite well. I think they will be successful. In my opinion, Russia will advance to the next round. I think Germany will win this year. I cannot say the same about Spain. France also has good chances. The European Championship starts on June 8th in Warsaw. The teams from Greece and Poland will have the honor of stepping on the field first.
This is all we have time for now. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.